these guys are athletes. People might not think of them as such, but they're putting in as much or is, if not more time than professional athletes do. I actually really love that they're living at your place because it's such a team game. The closer they are, the more they know each other. I'm sure they're all for one and one for all and all the rest of it. But just that extra you must get by living together, doing things together. Because I did want to ask you, it is esports centric, but there's that other side of it as well, mindset training. So it's not just how good you are on the mouse and keyboard. It's, like you said, strategy, mindset, because it gets pretty tense in there as well. So as you explained before, there's 24 rounds, and kind of like tennis, you can be down.
Mm.
And we've seen that in tournaments, in that major tournament with the winner, that you could be
Yeah,
six
with
games
talent.
down. And then you've got to
Yeah,
back yourself. You've got to have that mindset to go, okay, what can I do about what's just happened? Nothing.
yeah,
What can I do about the next game? Give it my best, show up for my mates, be
yeah,
loyal, do what we've been practicing, and let's freaking win this next one. And,
yeah,
so you could really see the it's called esports for a reason. It's sport.
yeah. It's a sport. Yeah, the bigger teams, the mindset side of it is, well, they say the top 20 and 30 teams in the world. There's not much between them in terms of individual skills. They're all very, very good. What differentiates them is probably that mindset and the psychological side of it. Are you getting nervous if we win this game, we're going to the major? If we win this game, we're going to make $1 million. That has to enter into their mind. So the big teams in Europe have, they have psychologists in there as part of their team. They have nutritionists. They have performance analysts, assistant coaches. I mean, the list goes on. It's a bit like AFL. Again, I'm going back to the AFL side.
Mm.
When in the 90s, this is when it all started happening. The players are all pretty similar, and obviously with the way they've set up the draft to try and even it all out, the skill is pretty much level is spread amongst all the 18 teams. So the first teams that realised the way to get an advantage over someone is the back office stuff. Is the stuff they do outside of actually kicking the footy.
Yeah.
And those teams were the ones that excelled, and now every team does it. So it's now looking for the next thing to make them even better. So, but it's the same in esports. That they do a lot of theory. They don't just get on and play. They do a heap of theory with the coaches, and then outside of that, they go to gym a lot. You look at all the best teams in the world. Say 15 years ago, there was a lot of the stereotypical, largish sort of, boys that don't do anything outside of this game.
Yeah.
But now they're all really fit. So healthy body, healthy mind, as they say. So they do a lot of that as well. But yeah, it's definitely a sport. The only difference is there's no aerobic capacity. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
Everything else is the same. But then their mental side of it, I think, is much harder than say an AFL footy player.
Yeah.
Because AFL game goes for what, 2 hours?
Yeah.
We played an event in Brisbane a couple of months ago, and the boys played 8 maps in one day, which a map goes for about an hour. So that was full, intense concentration the whole time for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Which is mind-boggling. I can't believe they did it. So.
And for those that have never been to a tournament, and I encourage you to go if you can, go yourself, bring your family, do whatever. It's family friendly. It's amazing. You are sitting there, and sometimes, depending on what happens, there's 15,000 people screaming as you play.
Yeah, they're screaming at the same time.
Not just in your bedroom or your office having a game. It's like watched by hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
5-figure audience numbers in the audience, barracking, yelling and screaming, or as our American friends would say, rooting for you, because this show goes, half of our audience are Americans, which is great. So it's intense. You can really see that the mindset stuff is got to be a major part of it. I love that also there's nutrition involved. And that they actually keep themselves physically fit to be able to be their best. Those 1%ers, half percenters, whatever they are, they've got to add up to the total sum of championship gameplay in a team.
Yeah, exactly. The food, they're amazing with their food. I mean, that was part of the deal. I'd get them dinner as well. So I'm like a chef at the moment. But the requests I get, they just want the best food, and I don't mean fancy stuff like crayfish. They just want meat. They even weigh their food. Like they're very, very conscious of what they're eating.
Mm.
I even have to buy boxes of special water for them, because they don't want the water out of the tap. So they're very health conscious. um, but yeah, it's a big thing now
Well,
for these kids. It's costing me more. It's costing me more in food than it is bloody in their wages. So if there's a food sponsor out there, you can look after me.
Well, that's really good to know that, as you say, the stereotypical gamer is someone who's overweight, sitting in the dark, eating crap, and being really unhealthy, where this is the absolute opposite. So
Yeah,
at the
the opposite.
pinnacle of this game, it's the absolute opposite. Because, a lot of parents would be saying, don't play and limit your
Yeah,
screen time. And I know there's a balance, and you talked beautifully
yeah.
earlier about having the balance that you introduced, especially when James, your son, was younger.
Mm,
What advice would you give to a parent whose
yeah.
child has dreams of becoming a professional gamer?
The first thing I'd say is that if they have dreams of becoming, if that's what they want to do, encourage that, but also encourage I liken it to if your kid came to you as a 12-year-old and said, "Dad, Mum, Dad, I want to be a professional AFL football." That's great, right? So you take them to training, they play games. If they said to you, "Mum, Dad, that's all I want to do, and I want to do it 8 hours a day," and they're 12 years old, that's not healthy. So it's exactly the same thing with this sport. There needs to be a balance. Obviously, there'll come a point while they're working through, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, where they have to then decide and pick a sport. But most kids will do. Most of the AFL footballers, they played cricket, they played football, they played basketball, they played soccer, they played everything,
Mm,
and they had to do well at school.
mm,
So it's a balance, and I think it's exactly the same thing. The unhealthy side of it is if the kids just want to play computer games in general, and that's all they want to do. That just like if they just wanted to play AFL and never did anything else,
yeah.
that would not be healthy too. So, and also I think specializing in one game. So rather than hopping on saying, "Dad, I want to play computer games and I want to be a pro," and then they'll play NBA 2K once for a couple of hours, and then they might play a different game, then a different game, and then another game, and and they're playing all different games. That'd be like your kid telling you they want to be an AFL footballer, and then just I got to watch that. Yeah, because that's a balance. That you can't be a master of all things. You'd be a jack of all trades. So I think that's unhealthy. If they just picked one. So James, when he decided to go Counter Strike route, all he did was well, if he wasn't playing, he'd be watching all the professionals games. He'd be watching demonstrations from the pros, learning all different moves and things like that. So that to me was healthy. I think that's the thing is a balance. It's really just about the balance of all different things until they get to a point where the time that he had to be putting in to become a professional when he was 15, he was still playing footy and cricket up till 14.
Yeah.
And that's when he said, "Dad, if I really want to go further in this, I have to concentrate a bit more on it. So put more time into it," which was fine. And his hands also, their hands are there. Well, I've even thought about insuring his hands because the fingers and that is what. So you can't play. If you play cricket or football, like your fingers get broken, then that's the end of it for you.
Mm.
So there will come a time when they have to choose to focus more on one and drop some other
Yeah.
things, but not at 10 and 11.
No,
That's
really
not healthy.
healthy attitude there, Ben, and really great advice for people out there that might be wrestling with those
Yeah.
kind of challenges in their own family. Has this journey taught you about trust and communication, or even parenting in general?
No, I don't think so. I think I just naturally just did it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think it came from. I think my motorsport days were
yeah,
just doing everything that I can
yep,
to help him achieve his goals.
yeah,
So,
perfect.
hence living in the garage. And that's what. And my dad did that too. He did do that,
You're right.
but he didn't have the skill and the ability to get a bit further. He needed business contacts and things like that.
Mm,
So I'm trying to do everything I can for this to succeed for him. Really, I
yep,
mean, I'll benefit out of it too, obviously, because if we make big tournaments, then it'll be good for everyone. But
mm,
but that's the main thing. Is just, I mean, that's what you do with your kids, don't you? You just do everything for them.
Yeah, definitely help them fulfill their
Yeah.
dreams. So you're the owner. Then
Hmm.
there's a coach. Then there's the 5 members of the team, and you're saying how some organisations also have a nutritionalist, a
Yep.
mindset coach. You've got a mindset person that helps you and the team, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. He's done a few sessions with them.
Yep.
He's a good friend of mine that does personal mindset coaching. But we might get you to do a couple, John.
Yeah, well, Rise and Thrivers, I did record something for the team to give them a bit of a pump up before they jump on the keyboard, just
Yeah,
as
that was
a
I like that.
just as a pilot. But yeah, I'd love to help out more because I really love gaming, but I also love people that follow their dreams and do the things that it takes to achieve them. It's so inspiring because we've all got dreams and goals and wishes, and then when you can see and talk and listen to someone that is actually taking the action to
Yeah,
fulfill those, and it's working. I know there's still a fair bit of the
still
highway to go
challenging.
down, but you are a fair way down that highway,
Yeah,
and
well,
I just want you to succeed big time. So if there's anything that
yeah,
I can do, I certainly will. And I hope getting this message out into the world through this podcast helps as well, because you did mention that it does take finances, and there's operational hurdles and stuff, and building esports team from the ground up and stuff like that. But
yeah.
I wanted to ask you to really take this full time. What would
Mm.
that look like for you? What needs to happen?
Yeah. So the boys are full time.
Yep,
That's why you kind of have to pay them a salary so that they don't have to have day jobs, because they wouldn't be able to put enough time into it to be the best.
yep,
So they're full time. Myself, as you say, I've got a little excavator business. So I'm getting up in the morning, I'm going and working all day, and then I come on the way home. I go to the shops and buy all their food, come back, cook it all for them, just so that they're comfortable and they're in the best position they can to achieve.
mm,
For me to go full time, there's two ways. We make a major, then we're fine. Other than that, it would be really to get a full time sort of partner on board
yep,
that can benefit from all the exposure that we can give to the esport community. So that's really it. And I'm working on that now. We're talking to a few people, but it's tough because a lot of companies don't understand how big the industry is.
yep,
They've got an idea, but they've still got in their head, the people you're dealing with, CEOs and things like that, tend to, they think Gallagher or Space Invaders or something like that. They think, what do you mean, professional esports? But once you show them and explain to them, a bit like yourself, John, when you went there, how big it is. It's so that's really the challenge is getting someone to back us.
yep.
That's the next step, really. And once we get that, we'll be right, and we'll probably be able to set up a business model so that will sustain us long term without making the majors.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
obviously, we want to set it up that way, but
yep,
making the majors then is just a bonus.
yep. Seeing is believing. I
Mm.
couldn't. Anyone that wants a global reach and
Yeah.
to reach an audience of, say, I don't know, 12 to
Oh,
35s.
that's really. It's probably Counter Strike's more 18 to 35. That
Okay,
James got him really young.
you
Yeah,
gotcha. Okay, yeah. So
he's
18 to
probably
18 to 35s. There's predominantly men, but I did notice quite a few ladies, heaps in the audience too, which I found
Yeah,
encouraging. I actually
yeah,
read an article the other day which is saying women are making up bigger and bigger numbers in terms of gaming now. They're the biggest audience, that increasing audience, I should say. So,
yeah. So they've got the tournament organisers have also set up a women's league. It's called Impact, ESL Impact.
mm,
So that's just for women teams only.
yep,
And a lot of that's not because the boys are necessarily better than the girls. It's more it's more it's actually really sad. It's more that they get sort of teased online and stuff like that. So that's why they've got their separate league. But that's less and less prevalent. So it is a big growth side of it for the women as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're really starting to get into it also.
And so, if you are a business out there that wants to reach that kind of target audience, both in Australia but also worldwide, as you hear Ben talking about all the tournaments that they go to, and the boys have just come back from Shanghai. There was sponsors there like DHL, Intel. There's big global brands sponsoring.
The sponsors now involved in Europe, they have obviously Red Bull, but they have all the big luxury brands are now starting to get involved. Gucci, I think Yves Saint Laurent are involved.
Yeah,
Even the Formula One teams are getting involved in it now. So Alpine are involved.
yeah,
McLaren have got a team in the sim racing world. A lot of the sports people involved. So Ronaldo's got a share in the team. Ben Affleck's involved. So
yeah,
there's a lot of big brands getting involved now because of the reach and who they're targeting.
yeah.
And the other thing too with the esport community is they're very loyal.
Yes,
So they like a lot of stuff on say AFL for example. I go for Carlton. I don't even know who their sponsor is. So I couldn't even tell you who their sponsor was.
mm,
Whereas you ask an esport player what team they go for and who their sponsors are, they'll know straight away, and they'll deliberately buy stuff off that sponsor. They're just that loyal because we all kind of know that it takes these companies to be involved for us to
mm,
be here.
mm.
So that's another thing too that companies are starting to realize the loyalty that the brand has with the enthusiasts and the viewers is pretty decent. Yeah.
Brand loyalty is massive, and yeah, because they're wearing the stuff. If you've got a favorite team and they have a particular brand or watch or clothing or whatever that they're into, you're going to be into that as well. That's just what happens with
Yeah.
sports. That's why Nike's so big and all those other companies are so big, because those sports people promote those brands, and people love that sports person. So therefore, we'll get the goods.
Yeah, and it's starting to change now, especially as the younger generation start to get into positions in companies like at C-level positions
Gotcha.
because they've grown up with it. So
Yeah.
it's much harder. I mean, I'm 53, so I'm unique in that I understand the industry quite well.
Mm,
But if you speak to all of my friends and family, when I was explaining to them all about this stuff, with the investor deck, they had no idea.
mm.
Um, they don't realize how big it is. So I think that's the big key is getting that out there how big it is. But as the 30-year-olds now, 35-year-olds starting to get into these C-level, it'll start to change, and companies will start to realize how valuable it is to be involved in e-sport at some level.
Well, and that's why these big brands are getting in now, because they can see that it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. In fact, when I read, and this was years ago that I read this, that video gaming and esports is bigger than the movie business.
Yes, yeah, it's huge. It's valued at, I think the latest Forbes magazine valued the esport industry at about $2.6 billion.
Wow.
So that's pretty decent. There's about 500 million esport enthusiasts around the world, which they split into half. There's about 250 million who are diehard,
Yeah.
and there's about 250 million that are casual viewers of esport.
Yeah.
So, and that was performed by a Statista, something like that, I think. So it's way bigger than AFL. Let's
Mm.
put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And for our international listeners, that's Australian rules football, Australian Football League.
For your internet, probably not as big as NFL. Not yet for the American, but yeah,
But it's coming. It's
it's
going.
coming.
If you did have the full backing and resources right now, how would
Mm,
you scale up the team? What
yeah,
would you do?
good question. Yeah. Well, the first thing I do is get an assistant coach
Yep.
and an analyst. So they're the first two. The players are all fine.
Mm.
That'd be the main thing is getting help back end. A full time analyst, full time assistant coach.
Yep.
That'd be the first two things for sure. And probably then we'd be able to do a few more boot camps in Europe and Asia.
Hmm.
So by boot camp, I mean in Australia the industry is not as big as Europe, obviously in Asia. So we can go over there. They spend like 10 days in a facility where all the computers are set up, all the accommodations set up. There's actually businesses that are set up over there that's all they do. They just have esport teams come in, do 10-day boot camps, provide all the food. There's gyms and pools and all that sort of stuff. So we could do a few more of those as well, which then just ups their skill level
Yep.
because they're playing against the better teams. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's probably the first thing I do. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I think the main thing for potential, potential sponsors or partners is the access that they get to the specific demographic and the loyalty that esport fans have,
Mm.
and the traffic they could get from that partnership to whatever they're trying to achieve.
Yep.
That's the one thing that people need to realize is that it's and again the motorsport thing comes into it because motorsport in the 90s went through a similar thing that esports going through now, which is teams went to, it happened in Formula One and obviously supercars and maybe Indy cars in America, etc. But where they sell all the bells and whistles to these companies would fork out hundreds of thousands of dollars and get a little tiny sticker, on the front of the car and expect that was all they got, and they got a little bit of television time. So for brand awareness, that could be worth it. I'm not sure, but they got burnt and they'll never get back into motorsport again. And that sort of happened in esport, maybe just before COVID, where teams were just talking the talk, and then they'd get a sponsor, get a sticker on their, a sign on there, and then would get no value out of it. So the value you can get out of it is, there's so many things you can do. It just depends on what industry you're in. It depends on what industry you're in.
Who is your dream sponsor? I was going to say.
Probably, well, it'd be something to do with gaming. So it'd be probably like a poker website or something like that, because everyone loves to play poker. All the boys, we're actually got a poker night tonight. The boys have, so they've organised a poker night. I played professionally for 3 years, so poker's a similar game. It's a similar game to Counter-Strike, I think, and chess. It's like chess and backgammon mixed. It's not really a gambling thing because you're not playing against the house. You're playing against other players. So, okay, there is some money involved, but poker requires a lot of skill, like a lot. You need to understand all of the numbers, the math side of it. You need to be able to read people as they're playing, and that's why I like poker. Out of I don't anything else, like blackjack or any of those luck games. They're all luck. There's absolutely no skill whatsoever involved in it.
Mm.
So a poker website would be good. Anything really. Anyone that wants traffic to their sites.
Yep.
That's where we can help.
Yeah.
And loyal traffic too.
Yep, nice. This show is called Rise and Thrive Conversations for Greatness, and I like to ask all of my guests, what does greatness mean to you?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably reaching the pinnacle of any chosen field. So whether that be sport or business, getting as far as you can. That doesn't mean if you want to be number one in the world, which we obviously do, and we get to number 10, as long as we've put in every single thing we can put in, as long as we've done everything possible and we haven't skipped any stages, or if we look back and say, oh, we could have done this better or we could have done that better, if you can get to a spot in your career, sporting career, or even business career, and you can look back and honestly say you did everything you could possibly do, then you've reached the top of where you can get. The one thing you don't want to do is get to a point and then drop back and then say, oh, I could have done this or I could have done that. I think that's what it means to me. So greatness to me would be reach the absolute pinnacle of what you're able to achieve.
Yeah, and I can hear doing your best, but also, Ben, you are demonstrating that greatness because you are doing whatever it takes to the point where you are sleeping in your own garage, because right now that's what it's taking. So you're doing it. So I can really see that you're demonstrating your definition of greatness and being great.
Yeah, well, hopefully it pays off, and then I can get back into my room with an ensuite.
Yeah, and a friend of mine once said, I used to give up going to the beach with my friends to pursue my dreams, but now I live on the beach.
Yeah, well, that's perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I might have listened to that.
I hope that's something that your journey entails, because you are, I wouldn't say giving up, but you are doing what it takes to get where you need to go, and that's inspiring.
It's interesting you say that because the boys are doing that too. I mean, they're 24, 22, 22, 20 and 20. So they're at that. I mean, most 20-year-olds, early 20-year-olds are going out Friday and Saturday night partying, with girls and like, so that's what they do. These guys don't do that. They really hardly ever go out. because they're always training.
Yeah.
So they're giving up a lot of that to chase their dreams too, which I really admire that. Like I walked in last night, I woke up from the garage, had to go to the toilet, and I've walked out and one of our guys was still training at 3 a.m. And this is what they do. So they're giving up a lot to chase their dreams, which is fantastic. And anything I can do to help that, I'll do.
It's great to see those young men doing that and making a commitment to their dreams at this perfect time in their life. I interviewed a guy, Nick Batchelder, the other week, who's a few episodes back in the show, and he put it really nicely. He said, because he's a young man in his early 20s, he realises, like your team does, this is the perfect time to chase your dreams, because as you get older, you might get more responsibility, more commitments. You've got a family, you've got whatever, you've got other financial commitments or whatnot. But at this stage of your life, at the stage that your team's at, it's the perfect time to chase those dreams rather than squandering it away. And they're definitely committed to following that dream. Super, super inspiring. Talking about inspiring, we've got a Spotify playlist called Merko Motivation. When I ask all my guests this question, and the playlist is full of songs from my guests, and I ask them, Ben, what's that one song that you put on when you need a pump up or you want to get fired up? And I'll put it on the Merko Motivation playlist for you. What's that song for you?
That's an easy one for me.
Yep.
So when I was about, I probably would have been 8 or 9 years old, I went to a State of Origin match, which for your international viewers is players from each state play each other. And it was a big one, Victoria versus South Australia, 2 states. And this song played, and ever since I've loved it, and I always put it on. It's LRB, Playing to Win.
Oh, I love that.
You got to have it up really, really loud though, and it just pumps you right up. Yeah. Even the words to it are, if you want me, come and get me. You don't have a chance if you don't move now. Stuff like the words are perfect for a sporting thing. I've played it for the boys before, some games, and they love it. So.
I love that, and I did hear the story behind that song in the John Farnham documentary, because you know how he took over the lead singer position in that band.
Yep.
He felt like he wasn't being treated like he should in the band and didn't have enough say. And so that's how he wrote that song, and they recorded it, and it was a massive hit. So that was his motivation behind that. And giving it all, going full out, making it happen, all the rest of it. So that's why it's so motivational as well. And it'll be an absolute pleasure to put that song in Merko Motivation, the Spotify playlist. Mate, I'd really like to follow Semper Fi's journey. It's inspiring for so many reasons, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you and the team. And let's have you back in whenever it is, whether it's 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is, to do a follow-up and see how this journey is gone. And I wish you and the team nothing but the best. It's so inspiring. Thank you so much for giving up your time today and being on Rise and Thrive Conversations for Greatness, mate.
No, not a problem at all. You can check the website out. We've got www.semperfi ESC, which stands for Esports Club. So check the website out. We're on Twitter as well and Instagram, so you can have a look. There's a couple of good videos there introducing the team members and things like that. So
in the show notes, we'll have links to the Semper Fi website. We'll also have your Twitter handle, because I believe that's probably one of the best platforms to stay in touch. I know a lot of the gamers
Twitter's big.
Are on that. All the links to stay connected so we can all follow the journey and see how it goes. Thanks for joining us on Rise and Thrive Conversations for Greatness with John Merkus. Remember, you are loved, you are worthy, and you do matter. Embrace the journey of personal growth and motivation. Let's go out there and do something great. Follow or subscribe for more insights and inspiration every Tuesday. Until next time, stay awesome.